This episode of the Amp Hour is sponsored by Club Jameco, part of Jameco Electronics, a leading component distributor for over 35 years. Club Jameco allows you to upload your kit ideas and start selling to your peers and the public at large. You never need to purchase large lots of components up front or bag and ship your kits. Sign up and submit your design, and if it's chosen by the community, you can start making up to 10% on the cost of your kit. To learn more and see some of Chris and Dave's favorite kits, go to clubjameco.com/theamphour. This is the Amp Hour Podcast, recorded November 4th, 2012. Episode 120. Mugwumps, Mulling, Milling.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Chip Report TV and Chris Gamble's Analog Life.
What about that new intro?
Hey.
Hey.
That's something different for us, huh?
It is. We actually have a sponsor.
Yeah. It's
After, a year and a half? How many episodes? Almost 120 something?
Oh, well, it's been two and a quarter years now. I mean, we started in August.
Over 2 years?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, more than 2 years.
I don't think we even mentioned our 2-year anniversary, did we?
No, because it was really close to the 100th episode, so it was like, whatever, no big deal.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Of course, because this is weekly. Yeah, would have
right.
been 104
Yep.
or something. Yeah.
So we finally got there, though. 2.5 years in, 2 and a quarter.
And we're in the big bucks. Woohoo!
Not really.
Yeah. No, not really. But Jameco are sponsoring this episode. So thank you very much, Jameco.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about them later in the show.
Yep.
So
they will be there. It's a trial. We're going to do it for a few weeks, are we not?
yeah, a few weeks. Yep.
Yeah,
See how it works out.
weeks. And if people click through the link, please do. Check out Jameco's stuff. If you haven't already, check out Club Jameco, and if they get a good response, then they will continue to sponsor us here at the Amp Hour, which is excellent.
Yeah, I'm excited. Hopefully the some extra money can help us do some extra stuff, and should be fun. I'm excited.
I'm going internally berserk. That's how excited I am.
I can hear it. Yeah,
you can hear it. All right.
You're so low key usually, and right now, I mean,
okay.
Yeah. Just calm down, Dave. Just calm down.
All right. Breathe in.
Yep.
Breathe out.
Just breathe.
Okay.
Yep.
So did you survive the storm? Did it hit you in Cleveland there?
It did. There was some footage of like crazy flooding and everything else, and it was on Daily Show actually, and they zoomed out and they're like, and this is in Cleveland.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, and we
underground car parks flooded, and have you got like an underground subway system in Cleveland?
We do in certain parts, yeah.
Right.
It depends where you were. Certain parts of Cleveland were worse than others. I'm in like the southeast corner. It was nasty out, but it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't like New York, and even the west. Cleveland's actually split in half by a big valley, and and on the west side, I'm on the east side. It was everything. I think power's still out in some areas, so it's man. Seeing all that footage, it's
like the
rough.
entire New York subway system get submerged or something, or
yeah, man. It just flooded like crazy.
The thing I don't understand is how does stuff work after that? Like, surely the whole system, the whole system would be buggered, right? All of the electronics, everything would be ruined, wouldn't it?
I don't know.
I mean,
you don't really think about that.
Is it up and working again? Like, sure, they pump the water out, or the water drains out naturally, or something like that. So eventually the water goes, but then everything would just be cactus.
I know certain lines are back up in New York City, but I know a lot more are down for weeks, like big time. And I think the stuff like on the south end of Manhattan are pretty bad still. I mean, like, and they're still without power and everything else.
I can't believe it'd only be weeks. Like,
right, yeah, you'd think they might have to rip stuff out and like redo it, but I mean, track's not gonna. I mean, like the track and the cabling.
No, tracks and things would be fine, and
maybe like switch gear. I don't know. It depends, and it depends on how much they design that in from a. Like, do they have to design against waterproofness? I don't know.
Are all the boards conformally coated and stuff like that?
Right. Well,
I don't know. I mean, if anyone knows.
Yeah, if you look at the era that stuff was, I mean, they do updates here and there, but I mean, there's some old stuff running those trains. I mean,
I've been on the New York subway system, and it was the most dilapidated, rundown system.
Right, you compare.
Shit, I'm scared this thing's going to collapse.
Oh no, I wouldn't worry about that. But I mean, you compare like Shanghai, like a brand new, huge subway, and New York, and it's like, I mean, New York's still got a good subway.
Like it hadn't been maintained in 30 years. Like, they built it 30 years ago, and they haven't touched it since. That's the impression I got.
Well, it's tough because, when you have such a highly utilized system, I mean, electronics designers run into this too, right? Like, how do you design a maintenance schedule for something that high utilization, right? I mean, in industrial situations, you have to have like redundant cards and have things like switchable and stuff like that, and it's a really tough problem.
In that. You would have to bring the production line, which operates all day, all night. It operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week production line. You've got to bring stuff down for maintenance. It's like, well, look, we're going to lose, $100,000 an hour if you don't, if it takes you 2 hours to fix this instead of 1 hour. I mean,
it was like that in the chip fab too, where they had to, you had to bring down, because eventually wafers dirty up the chambers, right? And eventually you have to switch out these quartz kits that are inside of them. This is for, dry etch. Mm-hmm. And so they'd have to bring them down and then, just pumping them down, it takes long enough. But, like if, then you have to test them and then you have to verify them and, and there's just tons of crap to just get stuff back online. And like you said, I mean, the cost with that, when when one machine goes down, you just not only do you have the lack of capacity, but then you have this big pile building up behind it because it's designed for 100% utilization, right? And it's just a mess. You want to talk about a bad time when the power goes out? It's a really bad time when the power goes out in a fab because all of especially like a dry etch chamber, if you look at it. There's all these chemicals and everything, and they're like eating away at wafers or whatever. And it's effectively like, it's a vapor cloud in there. It's a plasma, and there's a plasma near the surface, and there's like a vapor cloud. You turn the power off though, and all that crap that's hanging out above a wafer just goes, boom, and it just ruins every wafer, and let alone the ones that are in chambers where a robot just then goes and smashes it into a wall because the power got shut off.
And you would have hundreds of wafers in there, right?
Right, yeah, full fab. You're off. It's
thousands of wafers, right?
Yeah.
At a time, they're in these huge chambers, right? They're getting all the stuff deposited on them and stuff like that. They won't do it one by one. They'll put them in a big chamber, and there'll be thousands of wafers. Yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah. So when you're what's it called, like annealing something. So you're actually like growing, an epitaxial or something like that. Like that actually you put in like 4 lots at a time. So that's like 100 wafers in just one machine. So if that shuts down, you're screwed. And that's a big heater. It's a big oven. So that's just. I was never there when it happened, but I've heard stories of just like beepers going off at like 2 a.m. and like everyone in the company coming back in at once.
Crisis mode.
So,
I worked in a factory for, I had like a good decade off and on, right? And I actually can't recall the power failing at all, really. I mean, it was extremely rare if it did, or there would just be a momentary glitch and everything at reset. I think we have it pretty good here in terms of power and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean,
some areas are a lot worse.
I know that there was also I heard a rumor. I'm not sure if this is true, but I think it is. I heard a rumor that the fab I was at had a deal with the power company that they were buying so much power anyways because fabs take gobs and gobs of power, that if there was a preventable outage from the power company, that the power company was responsible for all the ruined wafers. And it's like,
really?
Oh,
Wow.
that's a hell of a contract to sign, right?
That is, right? You get your hands shaking
man.
as you sign that sucker, right? 'Cause
Exactly.
You go, holy crap. Oh, man.
Yeah. And from a, my heart really does go out to all the people down in New York. That's a dense city to start with,
I know.
But it just points out, like, how fragile the grid is. Like, I've been seeing all these articles all week about, just what could have been done, and sometimes it's just nothing, right? I mean, like, unless you put
that's right.
Even if you put all this power equipment up on 20-foot platforms, right? The platforms could blow over, right? I mean, there are certain things that are just not gonna stop nature. Mother Nature is in charge,
always wins.
and it's a tough problem, and it's gonna get worse, unfortunately, because at least in the States, I mean, I don't know how it is in Australia, but there's just not a lot of investment going on. Like, people talk about the smart grid, but it takes so much to invest in that stuff, and it's just it's not there yet. So I think, unfortunately, it's going to happen a couple more times before people finally kick into gear and they're like, oh, we should probably fix stuff, right? Like that power outage in India. I'm sure they're going to finally start considering that one, if people don't remember, is a couple weeks or months ago, where it's like 600 million people lost power.
Only 600 million.
Yeah, right. makes New York look a little less power.
Chump change.
Right. Yeah. But
and it's always power, right? Power is key to everything. You can lose your water and you can lose your sanitation for a couple of days, and you're probably going to survive. The other thing is the sewage system. Sanitation's a big thing, of course, because that can lead to nasty stuff pretty quickly.
Pump,
but power,
right?
Yeah, exactly. What runs the
power
pumps?
Runs
for all
the
that.
Pumps.
It's usually those sort of things fail because the power fails. So
my basement flooded just from the storms here, and
really?
It was the pump failed. I mean, like, the pump actually broke, but. If the power's out and the water's real high, it's like, well, okay, you're just going to have a flooded basement. So nothing to do about that.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, you're right.
It's like, you Yanks seem to love building stuff below ground, don't you?
Yeah.
Sort of I don't think we've got a single city here in Australia that would flood like that. I don't think it's...
Sydney is on the coast. I mean, there's coastal waters at least, but is it all hills?
But, no, we're not... I mean, we've had some massive storms here, and we get some localized. You always hear about localized flooding, So one street, water will be up to the wheels on the cars,
that's
up
nothing.
to the, exactly. But that makes front page news here, right? That's like a big deal. Yeah, that happens once every couple of years, and a big superstorm comes through, and okay, so there'll be a few cars in one street that'll be. Flooded, but that's it. It's usually very localized to like that one street that happens to be in this particular gully with not enough drainage and all that sort of jazz. It's very localized. You'd never hear about a whole city going down.
Would you guys get hurricanes or no?
Not really. No.
Okay. Well, that helps too. Not getting those. Yep. Those are pretty beefy storms.
They're pretty nasty. Yeah. No, we're pretty good here in Australia. We don't. We're
but you're right.
Pretty earthquake free, cyclone, tsunami free, and all that sort of jazz. Yeah. We do pretty well here.
That's
fairly
good.
Isolated.
All I got to worry about is crazy Aussies, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh boy. But it shows how critical that power is.
Yeah, and I've been seeing, like I said, there's articles out, and I saw an article about microgrids, and that's kind of an interesting idea of like. With the rise of solar and even the rise of like small gas turbines and stuff like that, it starts to make sense. I mean, maybe not New York, right? You're not going to have like
of course,
gas turbines in every building, but
out in like the suburbs where everyone's like, it seems like everyone here has got bloody solar cells. I'm thinking about getting some myself this summer, and and effectively you are already sort of microgridding because your power is most likely coming from the solar cells of the house next door.
Right. Now, the key there, though, is you need to have a battery system. If you really want to be, like, self-sufficient in that case, right? Most people, the cheap and smart, and honestly smart way to do it, I think, is to just sell it back to the grid, right? You just put your cells up, you have an inverter, and then it just regulates between when it's selling to the grid or buying from the grid. That's the most straightforward way of doing it. But I think the battery side of things, actually, having a rectification down to DC, storing it in batteries, having some kind of charge monitoring, like
but it's very
like Bob
lossy.
Simpson did.
And
it is.
And it's expensive, and it's a high maintenance cost. You know, you got to replace those batteries periodically.
Right,
and really,
they're risky too.
For what? I mean, for the odds of, you know, the power going out once a year or something. You know, if you're in a bad power area, fair enough. But we get maybe, on average, one power failure, barely one a year. And if anything, it'll go down for, you know, half an hour. That'd be a huge power outage. You know, it's like, what's the big deal?
Well, you know, it's never too big a deal until it happens, right? When it happens,
well, yeah. Well,
you know, I know like Alan Wolke, he's out in Jersey, right? And he said he's been, you know, battling for gasoline every day for a generator, right? And so in that kind of case, right, I'm sure he's saying, you know, well, right now a battery pack would be nice for if he had solar cells and everything else, and actually storing it for the day. And really, the main thing is, I mean, you think about the critical electronic device or electrical devices in your house. You know, it's food refrigeration is a big one.
Yes.
Water pumping if you have a well, or if you have a sump pump in the case of a basement, and a cell phone charging for maybe for emergencies and stuff like that. But it doesn't take too much, but it's not trivial either, right? It's not like ride a bike and you know, turn a dynamo or something like that. So it's
it's expensive and high maintenance to go fully self-sufficient. So really, you know, I think only those in, like, you know, rural areas or those in very poor power areas can really warrant that sort of thing. Unless you're like a one of those survivalist preppers, you know, and you're just be ready for the be ready for that
the
zombie apocalypse, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Shout out to ZombieTech.tv. They're back.
Yep.
Good timing,
they're
guys.
back.
Good timing.
They went.
They were taking a break. So
okay.
One of our friend podcasts, ZombieTech.tv, they are back on the air, and yeah. So
and they're prepped and ready to go.
I think they're ready. Yeah, they were saying if you listen to that show, you might be ready. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yes.
We have be kind of an obsession. Yeah, it
can be an obsession. Yeah. Well, it's a big thing in the US, isn't it? You know, prepping for the apocalypse and all that sort of. You know,
I don't know.
It's a big industry. All that survivalist industry.
Yeah.
Holy shit! It is 2012. Yeah, we've only got like a month left. Isn't it the 21st of... we'll have to do a big show like on the 21st of December.
Oh, is it going to be a Sunday? That'd be great. We should do a big Google Hangout show.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a Friday.
Sure.
Well, that's not bad.
It's a Friday, is it? Oh.
Yeah, the 21st is a Friday.
Oh,
although
that'd be a sad day here.
Well, if we have a show on the 23rd and 24th, then, you know, we're all fine.
Right. I think it's the 21st,
it's Christmas,
isn't
too.
it?
Yeah, it's the 21st. Yeah.
It's the 21st,
12/21,
right,
2012, or however you say, you know, time or dates.
Yep.
Yeah. So, you know, another key part, you know, the one thing I did forget actually with that too is lighting. Lighting is a big part if you have a generator. And the nice thing is if you have, if you are going to go to a battery system, it's nice because then you could just go straight to LEDs. If you had a homebrew system, right? A lot of LEDs have, you know, they have Edison sockets, stuff like that.
Yep.
So, is that the right term? Is it Edison socket?
Edison socket, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yep, it is.
So you don't think lighting is what?
I don't think it's that big a deal because when you really need it late at night, well, just get a few more hours sleep. You know, just go to sleep. What's the big deal? You know,
it could be. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree with that sentiment, but I mean, at the same time, you know, sometimes you need it, right? And flashlights and batteries.
But a torch, you know, flashlight and a battery. Who hasn't got a flashlight and a battery?
Well, that's the thing. They sold out of.
old-fashioned.
They sold out of batteries in like all of New York and New Jersey. They're just
wow.
out. Yeah,
that's scary.
Right, and you could use your phone if you had charge for that.
Yep.
And actually, that's a link I had this week. So they're using out in the streets of Brooklyn. They're using some kind of what are they calling it? BioLight. And so basically, I think it's like a pyroelectric charger, basically.
Right.
And so you like put a little fire in there, and you can cook your dinner, and then it also charges your cell phone.
It charges your iPod as well, right?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I mean, it's a good idea for this kind of situation, right? If you're a terrible camper and you bring your cell phone with you while you go camping,
right?
Yeah, but yeah, it's pretty smart, I think. I mean, it's a cool little device. I didn't really see much on like the how it's doing it, but
right,
it's, you know, it's cool.
But of course, any of us engineers can hack up a charging system if we need to. The power fails.
Could
and
you?
We desperately need to charge up our phone.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. I don't know if I could.
Somewhere? What? You
I
couldn't
mean,
hack
like,
up
I could.
You couldn't hack up 5-volt power. Surely you've got like a 7805 sitting in your parts drawer and whack it up to a bunch of batteries. Come on.
Oh yeah, but that's crap. I mean, yes, that's pretty hacky
It's not
though.
crap.
I mean,
It's going to work.
yeah.
Come
what, a
on.
12-volt battery down to a 5-volt charger? Your 5-volt rail? Man, you're burning all that power.
Yeah, you're just
know.
pissing it away, but it's an emergency, right? Here's an emergency, and Chris is caring about efficiency.
Well, if I'm building, if I'm building a project, I might as well
Right, got to do it
do
right.
it right, right?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's another. Oh, go ahead.
Reese Anderson, who we've had on the show, he is now full-time do-it-yourself drones.
Yeah, he's doing it full time. He's going to be.
He's leaving
CEO.
Wired. If you don't know, he was burning many candles. He was a many-ended candle guy, and
Yeah.
and
put me to
he's-
shame.
Right? Yeah, I know it's embarrassing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, makes us look like slackers.
The thing I didn't understand about it, like the 5 kids thing, man, like that is just really impressive because it seems like he's rolled his hobbies in with his kids, and that's just really smart, Like,
Yep.
it seems
One
like
is a handful, let me tell you.
Yeah, I know, right? And 5, and trying to keep them all happy. Ooh,
Well, see,
is
I don't know
impressive.
if I don't know if like it's 5 times worse than having one. Because when
get going,
you're
man.
having one, yes, they've monopolised your time. So what's the difference with having 5 monopolise your time? I guess there's,
I guess
point
you might
where
get some
it doesn't.
efficiencies too because you get them to like play with each other, and
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So it
you
might,
guys go figure out the 3D printer. I'll be over here. Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah.
And I
Anyway,
just
he's
finished-
leaving Wired after like 10
Yeah.
years or something. I don't know. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while since the '99, I think. So I just finished his book too. It was good. I enjoyed it.
Oh, okay. Yep. He's
Found out about some
new one. What is it? The coming revolution of the
Makers,
Maker revolution.
the new
Revolution.
industrial revolution.
Right.
So
Yep.
it's pretty good. I
Excellent.
love my library.
It'll be on my list,
Yeah, man, it's a good one.
which I'll be able to read on my Kindle because
Ooh.
it has like a 1-month battery life when the power fails, and it's got a built-in light.
The
new one.
new.
You see, I'm totally covered, dude.
Yeah,
Totally
for a month.
covered. See, if you've got one of these stupid iPad things, the power's going to
You get
run
10
out.
hours.
Odds are you're probably only going to have half charge anyway, and then you can't piss it away reading a book. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
you've got to have the right tool for the job.
I have a medium that holds up for longer than a month. It's called a book.
Right, yeah. Paper.
Infinite
yes.
battery life.
But you need a light for that. If it's dark,
not in
if
the
it's
daylight.
nighttime.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
not
I
in the
just go
daylight.
to sleep.
That sun thing. Yeah, get it for
Yeah.
free. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, I wish him the best of luck.
And times 2, I do as well. That's cool. That's
It is. I suppose
he's
it
got,
got too much, His wife said, look, one of these has to go. Probably.
maybe. Yeah.
Right.
I'll have to have him back on to ask about that. Yeah.
Oh, boy. And
So-
what else have we got? There's a 7400 competition. He's running
and
again.
I think that's closed now, but there's been some cool entries.
You pulled out a entry from this as a notable
Yeah.
entry.
Yeah, well, it's pretty impressive, I think.
Well, okay, what it is the dude has done a BGA dead bug style. So he's flipped it on his back. It looks like
No,
it doesn't say
not
how
that
many
one.
pins. Oh, sorry.
Not that.
Sorry.
No.
Sorry.
You got.
No.
I think you got the
I
wrong
got
one
the
on the
wrong
list.
one.
There. There's
Yeah,
a
I got
different.
the wrong one.
There's a different article from Dangerous Prototypes, and that's actually pretty impressive too.
Well, let's mention
he-
that one first. Then, yeah, that's
Okay.
He's got a there is somebody has done a BGA dead bug style, right? So
Which, yeah,
it's like.
I don't get it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, there's a big bulk capacitance. Yeah, I don't get it either. It's like so desperate, and it's like people think that's impressive. Well,
no, it is impressive.
It is impressive, but it is doable. It's easily doable if you put in the effort.
I don't know
to do
about
it.
easily.
It's doable. Well,
would
it's
not
a
go
pain
with
in the
easily.
ass to do, right? But it's doable because this is a 1mm pitch BGA, right? It's not like he's soldering to a little 0.5mm pitch BGA.
Dude, this is a crazy. I mean, you're right. It's not 0.4. I saw 0.3 as well. They're going to 0.3 now in certain parts.
Yeah, I know. It's a pain in the ass. Evil
it's
bastards.
tiny.
But yeah, it's not hard to solder to an individual pad on a 1mm pitch BGA. Let's, I mean, that's
don't know,
a fact,
man.
right? It's not hard.
It's
not hard.
easy. It's not easy.
Oh, it's 1mm. Jeez.
Don't make it your first project.
No, but it's, come on. If you get there with a soldering iron, it's not hard to solder on a wire onto a 1mm pitch BGA. Try it. Give it a go. It's not that hard. But but the fact is there's a sheer number of pins, right? And he's wired them all together and he's done little bus bars and it's very nice, very nicely done. And it's got multiple levels. He's put multiple layers of bus bars in there by the looks of it. So
it's insane.
It's pretty impressive. But from a pitch point of view, it's actually harder to solder onto a 0.5mm pitch quad flat pack or something as a dead bug, than it is a 1mm pitch.
Well,
BGA like this. But anyway, got it working. I don't know what the project does. Anyway.
It's a Mandelbrot. You ever do that stuff?
Mandelbrot. I know all about Mandelbrots and chaos theory. And yep.
Yeah.
James Gleck, Chaos. Great book if you haven't read it. It's quite old now.
Yeah.
But it's an excellent book on chaos theory and Mandelbrots and the people behind it who found it all and all that sort of stuff.
That's cool.
So, it's an excellent book. James Gleck.
What's it called again?
I believe.
James Gleck.
It's just called Chaos, I think. I don't know if you search for James Gleck. Doing this
Chaos.
live on air here, which is always great for a radio show.
No, I was just taping it for later. I don't want to have to find it later. Anyways, the other thing that was on the Dangerous Proto, though, is they've been doing the 7400 series contest. And I'm pretty sure it's over now. I don't think I'm wrong about that. But the impressive thing about this is he designed an FPGA out of discrete logic. I think it's really cool.
Well, he did one LUT.
It's like one LUT, right? Exactly, and it looks like it's probably a couple, like 2 or 3 inches square on the PCB. But then he makes, he puts all the he puts some 0.1 inch headers on the edges, and basically you can plug them together.
You can join them together. So I assume, there's no photo. Is there a photo of them all joined, like multiple ones? Oh yeah, there's a photo. There's a video too. I haven't watched the video. Yeah. He's got like 8 of them all interconnected there. So that's pretty cool.
It is cool.
That's pretty cool.
You know what the crappy thing about this is?
What?
The Xilinx software still won't compile for it, I bet.
Right, of course.
8 LUTs? No, we can't fit it in there. Sorry, Xilinx people, I had to get the dig in.
Actually, you have to read the detail. How does he actually program it? How is it? Is it compatible with any? I don't know. Anyway, go and check it out. Yeah.
I feel like this is the equivalent. This is like when Doc Brown
he's got his own
designs
one.
the microchip with vacuum tubes back in '55 and Back to the Future. Yeah. There was a 2 or whatever it was.
Looks like he's written his own. He's implemented his own simple hardware description language. It's called DHDL.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Nice. Oh boy. That brings back memories of I wrote my own finite state machine compiler once.
Really?
I made up my own finite state machine language, and I wrote my own finite state machine compiler because I did this little finite state machine project, and that was fun.
I know a lot of people get into like writing compilers and writing their own languages. I never did that kind of stuff. I don't.
Okay. Yeah,
I know. At least at my school, it was a lot of CS type folks that were doing that kind of thing. And I know it's good, because it helps you understand. But at the same time, I feel like it encourages this broadening. It's like, sometimes it'd be better to just maybe don't write another one. It's like sometimes it's easier to invent your own. It's like same with circuits. Sometimes you don't want to use the method that everybody else uses because you want to try something new. But at the same time, maybe it's a good idea to just use what other people are using. There's academic exercises and then there's practical exercises, and Yeah.
Well, I think mine would have been around the late 80s, early 90s or something. Yeah, early 90s probably. So this is pre-internet, pre-web,
right.
kind of thing where, you could find, anything you wanted, basically. So, yeah, I decided, well, I'm just going to write my own. And that's when I enjoyed doing big software projects, and I loved.
Yeah.
I don't do that anymore.
Makes you wonder, because people don't have that requirement anymore of, if you want it, you got to invent it, right? Is that actually hurting people or helping, or not even people? Is it hurting projects or helping projects because, maybe people have less experience starting from scratch?
But there's both, because there's so much you can do now, because there's so much information out there that you wouldn't even dreamed of being able to do some stuff before. But now all of the resources are out there, and all the examples are out there, all the communities are out there.
Yeah, it's true.
No, I would not go back. We've talked about this before, and I've done a video on it. No, I would not go back to the pre-communications internet.
Oh, well, you wouldn't have a job right now if that was the case, right?
Right, yeah, of course.
Who's that guy with the Sony over-the-shoulder Handycam just making videos for himself? That's weird.
Right, yeah.
You're at flea markets trying to
he's selling copies on VHS tape,
Yeah, Betamax. That'd be great.
Yeah, I could do a video blog by mail order. I have to mail out all the tapes and CDs.
Right, and people do trading.
Yeah, exactly.
They trade up,
Oh boy. Yes,
I like
that'd be something.
I like that Dangerous Protos is doing this 74 series contest, though. I think it's a good idea. I mean, and they've done it once before at least. And it's tough because it's so broad. Like something like this is huge, right? This is a big one, but at the same time, it also helps people kind of I didn't grow up with 74 series logic, so I always have to look up numbers. I don't know about you, but I still have to look up numbers. I recognize a couple,
I still
latches.
remember a bunch of them. Come on, you would know
shift
like
registers.
a 4011 4000 series CMOS, and you'd know a 7474 flip-flop, and you'd know a 74245, octal buffer and stuff like that. So, sure.
Right, yeah, and there's certain things you do, but it's nice because it kind of just gives exposure to more of the variety of functions that are out there, and it's I don't know, it's not like super necessary these days, but at the same time, it's sometimes it's better to put one of these in than throwing an entire AT Tiny in there, right? I mean, cost wise.
I remember, I may have mentioned this before, but I remember a job interview I went to once with a batshit crazy startup company, and the technical interview consisted of asking me to he would throw me a 74245 and ask me what that did. And I knew these off the off the top of my head, because this was back in early 90s, once again, pre-internet thing, right? So, back when you had to remember all this shit.
You were reading data books for fun.
It's like I was reading data books when I was 8, I mean, exactly, right? I had my own database and data book library, by the time I was 9 or
shelf,
10, right? Yeah, a whole shelf, full of them. And
which people can still get if they want. They're going cheap these days. Yeah, they're kindling.
And I remembered these things, and he was so impressed that he offered me the job. It's like, and I actually went to him. That's your whole technical interview. Don't you want to ask me something else? Oh no, I think I'm fairly impressed that you know what you're talking about. just because I remembered, some 74 series numbers. Yeah. I mean, that was, I was just taken aback by that. Anyway, I turned it down. The job sucked.
That's probably smart. All right, so we are at our halfway mark-ish, and we should break for a commercial. This is weird.
We should. It is. I just had somebody knock on my glass. I just had somebody walk up to me and knock on my glass.
Maybe he's trying to tell you to keep it down. Stop talking about 74 series logic.
Right. Could be. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking too loud.
We'll get another knock. Yeah.
That could be my first... I don't know.
First warning.
No idea.
Yeah. Right. Time for Dave to build a railgun. Anyways, we should talk about our sponsor, which is Jameco, and actually Club Jameco. And Club Jameco is, it's a new project they're kind of putting together. And basically, you can submit a kit idea, and then there's a big voting system, and then whatever gets voted up the most, that
gets made.
They'll turn that into a kit, and then you can get upwards of 10. I think there's like a gradation schedule of how much you can make, but if you get over $500 for any quarter, you get 10% of 10% cut of the profits, and so that's pretty cool. But
you don't have to do much. Like, you don't have to be involved in the whole engineering of design. Actually designing the kit properly, and all of that horrible engineering work which goes into actually producing a kit.
Right,
They'll
exactly.
do that
They
for
have
you.
engineers helping out with that kind of thing. I think you need to document, and they have guidelines, and that you can link through all that stuff and see it. But it's a cool little project. Or little site that helps you, make a project. And I think really getting rid of the hassle is the best part of that. The getting out of the bagging components. That's the tough part, right? Purchasing and bagging. So, and Jameco has a lot of other. You can actually buy parts on Jameco. So, but if people want to check out, we actually picked out a kit for this week. We went through all the kits that they're.
Some
past people. Some of them
didn't go through
right.
all of them.
Well, we went through the ones that have been submitted as kit ideas before, and we picked one out. It's a light organ, so it's a cool little kit. People should check it out, and they can.
As in audio goes in and woohoo!
Oh yeah, and then it lights up.
Show.
Right, it's kind of like a graphic equalizer, and but it's all op amp based, and so it's good for if you're learning op amps.
Microcontroller. Yep.
Right.
Cool.
And so,
but there's I don't know how many projects are on there, but there's a lot, isn't there? There seems to be.
Yeah. The Explore projects. I mean, in terms of what's been submitted, they said they've been overwhelmed by entries. But the good ones, they're kind of working through them. So if you have a good idea and you'd like to, have it made, this is a good place for it.
Yeah.
And so and it's nice with open source kits. You can put open source kits through, and that's great, right? I mean, helps to get it made.
Are they open source by default?
I don't think so. There's a FAQ page that I was just on, and then you made me click away.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, we'll find out the details, and
we will. And you can find out more by going to right. If you go to clubjameco.com/theamphour, we have our own link, and there's a link to that kit, and there's a link to other information on there. And like Dave said at the top of the show, if you go through that link, that really helps us out, especially if you're typing it in a browser. So go to clubjameco.com/theamphour.
Or go to our website if you don't want to actually remember that. Go to the Amp Hour, and we'll have a link there.
Yep. All right. That wasn't too painful.
No,
advertising.
That wasn't. So thank you much, Jameco. Yeah, it's novel, isn't it?
It is. It's
Go
different. It's good. And now back to our regularly scheduled program. Scheduled, right?
Now I'm concerned. Because I've got headphones on here, right? And somebody knocked on my window, because I'm in my little office here, right, which is my little cubicle office, and I saw them. They walked up and they tapped on my window here. It's got a. I couldn't see who they were because I've got that frosting kind of thing. But I saw they definitely walked up and tapped on the bloody window. So I'm not sure if they knocked on my main door and I didn't hear them or something. I don't know.
Do you lock the door or no?
Yeah. So they can't just walk in. Yeah.
All right, good.
But yeah, I certainly wouldn't hear them if they knocked. So I got my headphones on here and. Oh well, bugging you. How dare you interrupt our show?
Exactly. You should put we should get you a recording sign so you can be like. Meh, meh, meh.
I do have one of those.
You do. You should hook that up, man. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I know. It'd be awesome.
Yeah. Well, so did you see some of the links that Greg sent over? So our former guest, Dr. Greg Charvat, he sent over some fun links this week, actually, in terms of art.
His CAN radar made it on the IEEE Spectrum site too.
Yeah, that was cool, and that was kind of like a build log of the guy that was doing it, and actually Tony Long, one of our other former guests, is now building a kit for him. So there's actually going to be a kit for him. Yeah,
we actually suggested that, didn't we?
Well, he was doing it before we suggested it, but but that's good because if people want to try it out, then it'll be a lot easier to procure all the parts, and it's because it's tough if you're buying like single quantities of like RF components, and if you're kind of diving in the first time. So it's a good intro to microwave stuff, which is cool. But the thing that I really like, there was this video that Greg actually helped. He helped advise on, and it's these guys from where are they from? I can't remember. UC Davis. They're from UC Davis, and then they had over at a Chinese university as well, which I can't pronounce. I apologize. Basically, though, they had like a microwave horn, right? And then they actually detected the phase on that thing. And what they did is they did a light painting with an LED spectrum reader, basically. And so they moved it back and forth, and they could show where it was in phase. And what they did is they actually mapped out a sine wave by moving this horn in space. And then once they capture that on a long exposure shot, it actually shows a sine wave. It is so cool.
That is.
So yeah. Well, it's brilliant.
Is awesome.
I mean, right.
Yeah, of course.
It's so hard. It's so hard when you're starting out too, of just how you visualize this stuff, right? I mean, you don't think about it, especially with like magnetics and magnetic fields and electronic fields, right? And how they interplay and stuff too, and trying to actually figure that stuff out. It's just really hard to visualize, and this definitely helps. I mean, so there was a whole bunch of videos. Apparently, there's like some there's like a video contest for microwave stuff, but this is by far my favorite.
Yeah, this is cool. Yeah,
it's really cool.
Nice work.
Yeah. So if people like that, go check it out. And then later, if you want, you can build your own microwave horns and everything. And like that guy in the Spectrum said, he said like he was good out to like 50 meters. He could actually like track himself and like running across, track someone running across. So that's cool stuff, man. I've never really done that stuff.
No, he neither. I'd love to do all sorts of stuff like this, but yeah, you've got to weigh up your time and interests and all that sort of stuff. And
yeah,
I'm happy just to leave it to the people who are really super keen on that sort of stuff, and then they do cool videos showing it off.
Right.
And, I'm
we just watch YouTube all day.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, like time wise, I have a brand new Raspberry Pi sitting in front of me right now.
Excellent. Is it the new model? Because it's
the new one? Yeah, I got one of the first new ones.
I'm behind the times again. I've only got the old one, I think.
Well, it doesn't matter because I'm not using it. And you know what the tripping point for me was? This is honestly what it was. It was like, oh, they didn't include an SD card. Now I have to go find one.
No.
I'm busy. So that has been my stumbling point so far. But
you couldn't get an SD card.
It's all the way upstairs.
All right. Yeah.
That's a cool little part, though. I mean, it's interesting the marking on the. It's a Broadcom part, but I think Samsung's packaging it because I think they are at least. The only main IC on here, like the high density BGA, is marked Samsung, and I think that's because it's got the 512 memory inside there too. So I'm guessing Broadcom's just selling them to die, and then Samsung's doing the final integration and packaging with memory internal. But man, it's
all too complicated.
It is tiny. I love it. It's great. I mean, like it really is. I mean, this is the size of a credit card. That's really cool. I know we've said some. So we said, oh, whatever at first, and but I've gradually warmed to it, and yeah.
Okay.
And there's been good news. I don't know if you saw this. Raspberry Pi is going to be I think the first that is open sourcing an ARM-based core with the GPU. So all their code is going open source. Yeah.
Awesome.
How about that? That was about 2 weeks ago now. They mentioned that, but.
Well done.
Yeah, man.
And
cool.
what's this about ARM moving to 64 bits?
Oh, that's another thing because, ARM's everywhere, right? I mean,
right.
Just no avoiding them.
Yeah, it's almost to the point of boredom. Yep.
Yeah, I feel like I should get, but like at the same time, you look at this article, right? It's so 64 bits. Their AMD is giving up basically on a lot of their, not giving up, but they're moving towards ARM. For server cores and everything like that. They're going to be the ones manufacturing a lot of that stuff. So they're doing the licensing. But then you read these cores, and it's like, what? Where are they coming up with these names? What is it? It's like the A, they're like A7, A9 is what a lot of the older stuff is. And they went to like Cortex M0, M3, whatever. And now then the Apple stuff, all the A5 and stuff like that, like the A8, A9, all those Apple integrated chips, they used A15 core, right, and try and keep them all straight.
Yep. And
now AMD is licensing the A53 and the A57. And it's like, okay, whatever. It's just
Why can't they have something fun like the A666 or something? You know what I mean?
Right.
Come
the
on.
Beast. It's the beast of a chip.
Creative. I mean, come on.
Right. Well, I mean, it's. I don't know. Is it better to have like, not integrated, incremental type parts? You know, like how HP stuff was always incremental numbers and stuff like. Is it better to do that and then you have product families based on that, or is it better to have like random ass names like car companies are with like Nissan Muranos and all of that other stuff? And it's like
right, yeah, I don't know.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It's annoying either way. As long as it's not
some weird ass part number, that you can't. It's so freaking long and convoluted that you can't remember, or some product number.
Yeah.
Like Agilent's famous for it. Of numbering all their products with some stupid, ridiculous, arbitrary number.
Right. And, well, at the end, it doesn't really matter, right? I mean, like any brand name as well, right? Like Samsung means 3 stars, right? Or Broadcom doesn't mean anything to me, right? But at the same time, you just start to associate it with the process, right? Or the whatever they're selling. That's the idea behind branding. It's like, well, the same thing happens with chips, but at the same time, it's not exactly easy to remember. Oh, is this an A9 or an A13 or an A15? I don't know. A57. So it's
I don't know. Stupid.
It's all over the place.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
Shall we talk about the big upcoming election? How far away is it? You're regretting this.
What I'm really hoping is that most people are listening to this to try and avoid all that stuff. So I don't really want to talk a lot about this. I'm in Ohio, right? This is
Which
honestly,
is the big swing state, right?
Yeah, I posted a thing when Sandy the storm was coming through. It took a right turn at Ohio, right? It started going north, and I said even Sandy doesn't want to come to Ohio because of all the ads that are on TV right now. It is just it's just terrible.
That bad, huh?
Yeah, it's they should use it as a campaign for like kids to not watch TV anymore. Kids, you shouldn't watch TV because then you have to watch campaign ads.
And that's where the
really
hundreds of millions of dollars goes, right?
Oh, yeah. And this year it's really bad because even YouTube and Hulu and everything else, they're all targeted now. They know where I am in Ohio. I was thinking about getting a VPN connection just to try and pretend I'm in Australia.
It's
terrible.
Man, that's bad.
Yeah.
We don't have anything like that here. There's none of this, spending hundreds of millions of dollars mass campaigning people. Yeah, there's the odd ad on television or something for the party or whatever, but it's really it's not to the point of saturation like it is over there. My condolences.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you. It's almost over. It's over on Tuesday here. But the one thing that I had posted about was there's this really well researched article by Cabe Atwell over on Element 14, and basically, you can go read it yourself, but basically it's just about who's better for engineering, Romney or Obama, and it's just an interesting article he lays it all out there, and it's a long ass article too. It's probably a good 2,000 words, and you can take whatever you want from it, but
yeah, I haven't read the whole thing.
I think a much bigger, more interesting thing is what's going to happen in the States if the sequestration happens, right? And this is bound to happen either way. It's just because of gridlock. But this is where this article comes in too, talking about spending and stuff like that, right? I mean, I was talking to my wife about this just in terms of spending in general. It's like, you give a research scientist $100 million, and some of that's going to equipment manufacturer, and some of that's going to parts and stuff. So I don't care who's in office. I just care that they start spending money on engineering and science and stuff like that.
No, I think you have to be scared. I think there's a lot more. But I don't think he mentioned that all of Romney's cronies are on the science committee, and none of them believe in bloody evolution or anything else. Nutcases. And they're on the science committee. Come on. Chris is speechless.
Just waiting it out, man. I'm just waiting it out. Just get it all out, man. Just get it out. Just get it out.
I don't know how you put up with those people. Really? Come on.
See, then this is why you can't move to the States.
Boot these people out.
This is why you can't move to the States, Dave.
Yeah, they wouldn't even let me in, right?
One of many reasons, right?
Why? Because I actually believe in science? Hey, can't have someone like that in our country. Oh, boy.
I meant your wife wouldn't let you, but yeah.
Right. Oh, it's disgusting. Anyway. Boy.
All right, so back to electronics.
No, and do you think that you'll have an answer next Tuesday, or is it going to, or next whenever it is, or is it going to be too close to call? Like, and it'll drag on and just be one in the courts again. Like,
I hope not. Yeah. There's this really interesting. If people are interested in this kind of stuff, there's this interesting like flow chart that you can look at on New York Times about all the different options, and it's just like I'm so deep in this stuff right now that I'm just like, I'm kind of like drinking the Kool-Aid and looking at all the statistical stuff, and it's interesting from a statistics standpoint, right? Of like, there's so much uncertainty about everything, right? That there's only there's signals popping up everywhere, right? I mean, like if this was a filter system, right? You'd have to have such a well-tuned filter that it's just like, but there's so much crap in the system that it's like you can't even tell, right? There's no way to predict this stuff right now, so it's. I just want it to be over, Dave.
So
I just want it to be over.
You do actually vote? You're one of the people who do actually get off your ass and vote?
Yeah, that's good.
Awesome. Yeah.
It's important, and people that are listening should vote.
Yes.
Regardless of your views, I want you to vote. So that's good.
Here it's actually compulsory to vote. If you don't, they fine you.
Really?
Yeah, and I know the Yanks will be screaming, "Oh, that's against freedom. You guys don't have any freedom because you have to vote." It's like, no, dude, I'm sorry, you don't quite
How much
get.
you get fined?
Oh, it's only $50. It's like, so there are a lot of people who just simply refuse to vote and they pay the $50 fine or whatever. It isn't a big deal.
Yeah,
so if you want to do
yeah.
that protest, but people do the old, they do the old false vote. They do the donkey vote. You turn up, you get your name signed off, and you vote for none of the above. And, it's called the old donkey vote. So
what a mess. There's actually a new podcast too that was actually pretty interesting.
Cool.
From it's called Innovation Hub. It's from the Boston. It's out of Boston, and they actually covered a bunch of this stuff about just science funding, engineering funding, and stuff like that. And I'll try and link it in. It's a really good. I've really enjoyed it so far.
Is it just a general interest podcast, or is it like a sciencey based?
It's definitely science based. I mean, it's everything. It dives into engineering a little bit, but mostly science. Kind of innovation. So it's like that's pretty broad, but I really enjoy it. So people should check that out. The thing I've been keeping myself busy with, trying to ignore all of this stuff, which you kept rubbing in and reminding me of,
what?
Is CNC machines. This is my new. What? You don't like it?
No,
this is my new.
It's fine.
This is my new obsession.
No.
This is my new.
Go and get yourself a new toy.
Yeah.
I'm surprised the wife is allowing you the privilege of
so
buying
here's
such a toy.
Here's the key. One, I've somehow sold her on the benefits of how I could, use it not just for making cases and front panels and all the other stuff for electronics things. Mm-hmm. But I've also convinced her that I can make stuff for her, which is smart. And when you say you can make things out of metal and wood and plastic,
dude,
I just yeah.
I'm not sure if you can hear that, but the building fire alarm is going off.
No way.
Yes way. I'm afraid you're going to have to anchor the rest of this yourself.
Do you have the Mumble app?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Try and get the Mumble app.
Sorry, I gotta go.
Try and get the Mumble app on your cell phone. Bye.
Bye. Catch you next week.
All right. So this is interesting. Anyways, I hope he turns the sound off at least. So this is Chris, and Dave didn't turn the sound off. He was waiting outside for a few minutes. And I kept going. I was recording by myself. But we all know how bad 5 minutes with me is by myself. So 15 minutes was a little undoable. So here's me and Dave once he got back into the office. So basically, I found this article on... so we have a subreddit, right? We have the Amp Hour subreddit. There's another good one if people are on Reddit called Hardware Startups. And... they post about, we've been talking about hardware startups a whole bunch on here with Kickstarter and everything else, and there's a lot of focus on software wrapped in plastic these days. And basically, though, the people post a lot of cool articles in there, and there was a really good one about mold making, and I never really looked at that before. Yeah, and have you ever made a mold before? Like for neoprene buttons or anything like that?
No, not as such, no. Like I've made molds for various enclosures and podding things. Like I've put my circuit inside a mold and then filled it up with podding compound and stuff like that. But that's probably the limit of it. Fairly boring stuff.
Okay, well, that's important. Actually, one of our listeners tweeted about that. He wanted to know about how to waterproof electronics down to about 10 meters or so. I've never really done that. I mean, I've done that
down to several thousand meters.
How do you do it? You just pot it?
It's not easy. Podding is one way, yeah, but ultimately, usually, with these underwater stuff, you've got to get like sensors in and out. You've got to get wires in and out, and just doing penetration. I mean, even down at 10, 20 meters, you probably need a good half an inch of podding length on your wires. Otherwise, the water will creep under pressure, back up the wires, and then you've got to prep it. So you've got to prep your wires. You've got to clean them with isopropyl alcohol. You've got to, so that the podding compound adheres properly to the PVC and all that sort of jazz. It's non-trivial. And if you get one little bit wrong, bingo, the water's going to leak in.
So it's all about where the intros and outros are, huh? Or inputs and outputs.
Yes, all of the water penetrators, the penetrating connectors. You can buy proper water penetrating connectors and stuff that. So, and then you get into the whole thing of O-ring sealing, because usually gaskets, your widget has to have a lid. Your gasket, your O-ring, and sealing all that up is an art in itself. Getting the pinch angle, you'd be amazed at the amount of engineering which goes into getting just the right pressure on your O-ring and stuff like that, if you want to do it right. I have worked with that stuff
a little bit. So, I used to work at a military place and military and fire, and they had a lot of O-rings, and they'd do like submersion testing, but never like super high pressure like that. So yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, we used to have our own in-house water tank, so we could actually pressurize it. I think it went up to 1,000 bars or something like that. We worked in bars. That's I can't remember offhand now what that is. I've worked in many bars myself, Dave. I've hit the bars every weekend.
Your entire education was built around the bar, wasn't it? Yeah.
College was based on bars,
right? Oh boy, yeah. CNC.
So the other thing, the reason I got into all this, right, is the wife, right, and I've sold it to her as I'll be able to, not only just make, aluminum cuts and wood cuts and plastic cuts, blocks of ABS and stuff, which would be like a 3D printer, but in the opposite direction. But also the actual viability of, using a CNC milling machine to make, quick turn, copper-clad cut boards, and you and I have talked about this before. You're not real keen on them because you think it, and I agree, it's just as fast.
Oh, they're okay machines, but you've got to have a high-spec one. If you've got to do it, you've got to go for gold,
Right,
so I'm curious about these CNC machines. At what level do you have to spend before you get something that's not a piece of shit?
Well, I mean, I've had some help so far.
That's actually useful.
Yeah, I've had some help so far, and it seems like a lot of the lower end stuff, and even the higher end stuff, right? It's all still, it's old stuff. I mean, it's old. It's using parallel port kind of stuff, right? I mean, and good luck finding computers that have parallel port cards these days.
Fail.
You have to install them yourself, and even then, you have to have probably a full PCI bus, whereas most things are PCI Express these days. So, not exactly an easy thing.
ISA.
ISA, right? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Right.
Industry standard architecture.
That's right. And and so like all that stuff, it's a lot of DB9s, DB29s, and that's to be expected with just for the current carrying capabilities. If you need to drive, a stepper motor or something like that, right? That you need higher current cables.
Usually they're just comms.
Oh, they're
right. Usually they're just
then?
an 8-bit. They're always They don't drive any amount of current out of the parallel port, for example.
Oh, well, that goes.
It's just not capable.
I don't mean
of
the
it.
actual, not the parallel port. I mean from that the parallel port goes to like a controller box, and then the controller box talks to
and
the steppers.
And the controller boxes use all D25 connectors. Yeah, you can get up to a couple of amps per pin on a D25.
Yeah, 3 amps per pin for a DB9. Yeah. I know. So it's nice for that kind of thing. But anyways, it's it seems like a lot of this stuff is older just because it doesn't need to be super fancy, right? I mean, you're not going to be whipping through a ton of stuff. I mean, there's some videos I can link in which are insane. Like people they're cutting out V8 engine blocks with CNCs. They're all liquid cooled and all that crazy stuff. 5-axis. That's not even close to what I would be doing. Right.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's fun. It's it's porn to look at, right? I mean, just like, it's just so cool.
Of course. Yeah.
So,
but what can you get for a reasonable amount of money? How much money are you thinking of spending so that people can, if they know about this sort of thing, can
So, there's
suggest something.
To step back a little bit. There's this great document that I found on that hardware startup subreddit, and basically it's all about mold making, and it's all about like basically an intro to to machining, right? And it's really CNC machining, right? It's not necessarily hand machining, which is a whole different field. But it's a really great primer at the very least, and quasi textbook, in reality. But they also suggest a whole bunch of different ones that are out there, and they start at about $500, and that's the lowest he would recommend. It was like a Hong Kong based one, and then it goes up to an easy $20,000, right? And that's still
of course.
That's still in the mid level not prosumer, but probably mid level. Not like high volume, not high speed. Well, it's high speed, but
so similar to the 3D printer market. You pay anywhere from $500 to $20,000 for a
It's shockingly similar actually because of the I think there's certain things that are better, but the one I'm looking at, I've been selling my drum set. I'm selling my drum set. I'm selling a bunch of old music gear.
He's
I have.
hocking everything, folks,
I
to
am.
get these dream 3D.
Yeah, well, I'm excited
dream
about it.
CNC router.
It was time, anyways. But the point is, and you look at like the relative stuff. So I'm comparing it like a replicator 2 versus like a CNC machine, and it seems like the CNC machine's a little bit better.
Bloody hell! There goes the fire alarm again.
Oh no!
Again.
Oh crap! I
All right. I think we might have to call it.
Just
better
light on
not.
fire.
I'm on the strata committee. If I ignore it, I'm Yeah. All right. I better go again, folks. Sorry about that. I'll catch you next week on Planet Kolob.
Planet what?
Sorry, Mormon joke there.
Oh right. Can you turn your recording off this time?
It's a hilarious Mormon joke. Oh, I will.
Yeah,
I'll stop.
Okay.
Oh, no, hang on. It just stopped,
away?
folks.
Hey.
It went away.
Yeah.
It went away. Cool.
All right.
Excellent. We shall continue.
Yeah.
Not that we have much time left anyway.
Yeah. So anyways, this guide's great. And it seems like with, like I said, Replicator 2 is about $2,500, and that's kind of that's the top of the range I'm looking at, because as someone said on Twitter last week, there's a difference between buying a tool and buying a project, and I like that a lot. I think that was a really good way to look at it. Like if you buy low end, you can get it to work, and you can tweak it, and you can eventually run into your limitations, but sometimes you just want to buy stuff that works, right? I mean, like you say that all the time about like Windows versus Linux, right? And
yep.
And so part of me just wants to get it to work just because I want to start making things. That's the main thing.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so there's, I don't know. I'm really excited about it.
I think you're going to have to spend a decent amount. I think you're going to have to spend a couple of grand before you get anything that's going to produce decent results for you.
Well, I don't know, man.
I'm afraid that's
$500,000 repeatability on the $2,500 machine I'm looking at. So that's pretty crazy.
yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But then you've got to have like the heads, like how much do the tooling heads cost and stuff like that.
That's a good point, right? There, yeah, and there are they're probably like $15 a bit, whatever you call them, the end mills and the drill bits and everything else. So non-trivial. Like I'm sure that a full set would probably run me another $500, but it's like anything else, right? And the materials too. If it's a tool, it's they're not cheap, Or I could go cheap. I could go buy them from like China.
I think you'd regret that.
I think so too. I think I don't think I will, but I mean I'm sure there's some good stuff from China. Don't get me wrong. There's there's probably a range of stuff you can get. But if I go cheap in general, if I go cheap from China or the U.S. or Italy or anywhere else, Germany, it doesn't matter where I find the cheap stuff. They're cutting corners somehow,
Exactly.
Most processes are pretty efficient to start with, so it's you really gotta pay up sometimes.
So if anyone has any good advice for Chris,
yeah,
let him know.
Happily take it. Yeah. So the last thing I wanted to mention is because I mentioned that Hardware Startups Twitter account is the interesting focus on it from a big name in the startup space. So Paul Graham of Y Combinator, which is like a software startup group, he wrote like this interesting article just basically about the rise of hardware startups, and he's calling it a hardware renaissance. And it's like nothing that we didn't know, but it's always interesting when you see big names like that. They call
Jump
it
on
out.
the bandwagon.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And even more interesting is when a competing incubator at Bolt, which Scott Miller, the guy we've had on the show from Dragon Innovation, he's involved with, one of the other guys from Bolt, Ben, he wrote, yeah, that's cool, they're interested, but they're not going to help you out much. So we might be starting to see some antsy in the pantsiness around here with people arguing over hardware startups. But in terms of our listenership, I think the more people are interested in hardware in general, the better, right? It's a good thing, good problem to have. And the last thing I will say is that Accelerator, the other hardware incubator, the one over in Shenzhen that we've talked about before, they are on their second round, and they're looking for new applications.
Sweet.
So people are interested. I mean, Bolt has been looking for people as well, but if you're interested in heading over to Shenzhen for, I think, 12 weeks or so, and then kind of demoing in front of a bunch of big investors,
And they'll fly you out there, right? That's part of the deal, isn't it?
Yeah. So they give you you money for investing in your company, and and they give you access to tooling, and you work with all the Seed Studio guys. Eric Pan's part of that as well, and it seems like a cool little program. I didn't see any of the output from it. I don't know if anyone got invested in heavily, but I think that it was a young program, so I'm sure that as more people find out about it, they'll get better.
Grow. Yep.
Yeah, I remember that sous vide cooker that was on Kickstarter ended up that was out of Accelerator, so yeah, it's cool, man.
I like
it. Exciting times, and not just because of fire alarms and elections.
What would you take if there was a fire? Would you actually would you grab your
like
oscilloscope?
Off my bench? I would. No, that stuff can be replaced. I'd say hard drives would be the main thing. I mean,
data, right? Data cannot be replaced.
Right, exactly. Although people should back up their stuff. We learned that one the hard way here too. Yeah. So I don't think there's anything I would really take. I mean, like my bench has got some okay stuff, but like I said, nothing that can't be replaced.
I don't think I'd grab anything if I knew it was a real fire. I'd just Well, I don't have insurance. That's a concern.
You don't have insurance for your workplace?
No,
well, that's an important
I guess I should get some, huh?
Yeah, you probably should.
Well, the building is insured, so I would get a new building, right? But but the actual contents, no.
Yeah, you might want to think about that. That is an important part of any startup and business and such.
Yep. But then again, I figure like if this whole thing burns down, I got more things to worry about than buying $5,000 worth of gear to get me back up and started.
Yeah, but it's nice to have that $5,000 in your pocket. Then, once the insurance claim comes through. So.
Yep.
Well, regardless, stay safe. Don't light anything on fire, Dave.
I'll try not to. I do have a fire extinguisher in here. I'm ready to go.
That's good. Yeah, you only got one exit, right? So be careful.
Yeah. No, there's two actually.
Oh, good. Also
important. No, there's one exit through the door here. Yes, out of the actual office. Yes. So.
All right.
But I figure I can jump through the flames, Hollywood style,
Dun, 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 dun. All right, and when we start singing, it's time to end the show. All right, we'll see you next week.
We've lost the plot.
Bye.
Bye.
This episode of the Amp Hour was sponsored by Club Jameco, who allows you to upload your kit idea and make up to 10% of the sale price without ever needing to buy or bag components. Go to clubjameco.com/theamphour to see the kit discussed on this week's show and to support the show.